Yeah. Sticklo, aka Sticklo Swag Mode. EP Enterprise. Rap Entertainment, Manny Green, I see you. Brethren. Blue. Shams and Sin Black Dot. Kokai Sawa. Double.
Special.
My mind's right. 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 My mind's right.
Had to buck him down with my 9mm.
My mind's right. 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 My mind's right.
Had to buck him down with my 9mm.
Fine. If we gon' grind, let's grind. I'm 9 tenths, 9 dimes, 10 cents, 9 times. If 10 cents times 9's 90% in dimes, then I'm fighting against the 10% controlling your mind. Yeah, I'm fighting against the 9 to 5, controlling your time. Fighting crime, fighting the Pope and 9, patrolling our kind. That's a 9. Asking for mine, you must be asking for 9. As for mine, no, that's a sign, can pass a 6 for a 9. That's a 6, no, that's a 9. You see the shape and design is the same, but the value changes if you flip it one time. I'll explain. The value changes if you flip it one time with the exact shape and design you call a 6 or a 9. 69. The cancer sign is in it, ain't redefined. Out of 10, I'm at a 9. I'm 66 better 9. Okay, 999 and plus to a key, a 999 plus a buck from a G. Right angle, 90 degrees for like the 90s to me. 89 and the 93, we gon' gas it and dry the beat. See the circle ringing in she's current coil, for energy, current coil, for DNA and 9 volt in the battery. 9 lives, 9 pilots divide. Take a square with 4 sides with 9 boxes inside. Let's call it tic-tac-toe. X and O's, no actual lead. 3 months but 30 days be a 90-day guarantee. A state of emergency, in a state of emergency. 911, a 911, no denying the urgency currently. For currency, some music, 9 to pay rent. Keep it 100 at $99.99. 9 cents, dressed to the 9 in my size 9 shoes on my wave, like a 1980s breakdance move on my grind. Dressed to the 9 in my size 9 shoes on my wave, like a 1980s breakdance dude. My mind's right. 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 My mind's right.
Had to buck him down with my 9mm.
My mind's right. 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 My mind's right.
Had to buck him down with my 9mm.
They businesses and buying back the block. And let's open our own business so we'll have some place to shop. Start investing in ourselves, is what we do, cause they do not. So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Yeah, we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Every hustler that could hustle, start investing in your spot. Don't you see these vacant houses and you see these vacant lots? So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Yeah, we buying back the block. My brothers buying back the block. Sisters buying back the block, my sisters buying back the block. Don't you see these vacant houses and you see these vacant lots? So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Yeah, we buying back the block, my OGs buying back the block. Youngins buying back the block, my youngins buying back the block. Start investing in yourselves is what we do, cause they do not. So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. If we gon' get this cash and chop, this bullshit's got to stop. All this his beef, her beef, this and that, man, let's just get some guap. Dodging SWAT and got the digi, really, let's invest the stock. I suggest we cash some checks, it's really just a building block. See my circles talking cheese and bread and dough like pizza box. So let's get some cheese and bread and dough for our own pizza shop. And we never needing your fast food when auntie making plates. Cause that's fish and fries, you get 2 sides of drink and slice of cake. The mechanic shop, the barber shop, the hair and nail salon. On the corner store or grocery store, let's get some season farm. Cause when summertime, when school let out, we started up a julep house. Then we passed it to the kids to show them what this bit is about. Used to grind the tubers out the Buick with the music clout. Now he with the wife and kids to show you what them Jews about. 10%, $100,000 is in stacks. So all you need is $10,000 to buy a house for 100 racks. Wait, all you need is $10,000 to buy a house for 100 racks. Yup, all you need is $10,000. Think of that with your income tax. Shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. And let's open our own business so we'll have some place to shop. Start investing in ourselves, that's what we do, cause they do not. So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Yeah, we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Every hustler that could hustle, start investing in your spot. Don't you see these vacant houses and you see these vacant lots? So we shutting down their businesses and buying back the block. Yeah, if you getting money, stop buying back the neighborhood. Buy up these houses, these empty lots. Stop buying buildings, opening businesses. Stop buying land, property. You know what I'm saying? If you want to multiply your choppy, I don't care how you getting your bread. Shout out to my peoples up at Be Healthy. You know what I mean? Why we ain't got no black grocery stores?
DJ Nani Non.
KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM. The station that leaves no listener behind.
Sports Radio Update starts now.
One upset in the top 25. I'm Pete Fox in Evanston Northwestern. A 16-6 win over number 21 Stanford. This pick late in the game iced it.
Back to pass. Hogan stepping up in the pocket, firing for the far side. Picked off on the far side by Northwestern and sliding down to the ground.
Of 35 for 150. And number 13 UCLA with
It's a quality game in a quality place. AT&T Stadium in Dallas. And, you know,
consider this your invitation to sell. At buysellmakeoffer.com, you can sell as much as you want for the next 60 days without paying any fees. Easy it is.
Business, I wear a lot of hats. I'm accounting, sales.
Melinda.
We found the problem with your car.
All with a life.
Loma Linda.
You're live with Mitch and Kathy. Hello, Southern California.
And we are back on the air with Southern California for the very first time. We're that good-looking couple on the screen right there. Welcome.
Welcome. I am a native of California, so it feels like I come right back home.
And I have actually never lived in California.
Well, you missed something.
That's what they say. That's what they say. It's a beautiful state. And believe it or not, we've done a lot of radio. We've done a fair amount of television. And we've done a fair amount of work online. And this is the first chance we've had in probably a couple of years to get back on the air and to talk to our followers. Let us just tell you a little bit about who we are. And I'll start with my lovely wife, Kathy Gibson.
Well, I am, like I said, a native California. I'm also the president of our company, Tybro.com, and we have been in business. Actually, we're getting ready to have a 10th year anniversary for our corporation. Woo! And we are a company that specializes in spiritual wellness tools. We like to help people get themselves back together. Too many people are out there and they're stressful and they're struggling, And we try to help them in the areas of relationships, in the areas of health and wellness, and also in the area of wealth. We want to try to help people help themselves. So we try to empower you so that you can do this for yourself. That's what our company is all about.
She's being modest again. This lady played in the Final Four at the University of Southern California.
Go Trojans!
The University of Southern California.
University.
Actually, before they were even videotaping it, you played, who was it, Louisiana State?
We played Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana Tech.
In the first Final Four that was actually televised for women's basketball.
So you being very modest. You played what position again?
I was guard forward.
Guard and forward. Well, it was a split position, I suppose. And you were also captain of the USC track team.
Track and field. Go Trojans.
And you trained for the Olympics.
I did train for the Olympics.
That was when Afghanistan ruined the party and the U.S. decided we weren't going to go. And the Russians were in Afghanistan at the time, and we didn't go.
Of course, we're talking about 1980.
Yeah.
1980.
You know,
just a few years ago.
You still train.
I did train. I didn't train as hard as some of those who trained for 4 years to get to the Olympics. I trained for 1 year. But we didn't get to go, so that dream never came for me.
And then you had an extensive career in the corporate world.
I did. I was in the corporate world for over 30 years. We're not youngsters. We've been around 1 or 2 years.
We just look young and marvelous in this picture, but we're actually in our 50s.
Well, let's talk about you. Tell people who you are.
Well, I'm a psychiatrist. I trained at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I graduated in 1985, class of 85. I was there at the same time Michael Jordan was. And
Go Tar Heels.
The first year of my freshman year, we won the national championship. So I got to party in the streets of beautiful downtown Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Yay. And I did my residency in Philadelphia at the Albert Einstein Medical Center. And I practiced in Philadelphia from 1989 until 2005, when I met this lovely young lady online.
Online.
We met on a website called Black Planet.
Blackplanet.com.
I had sworn off internet sites. I had sworn off internet dating, and something told me in a dream, go online again and you'll meet somebody nice. And I went online, and this lady wrote me, her name was Kathy, and she didn't have a picture.
No picture.
So I had this policy that you just don't write women back that don't have a picture.
It's me.
Because you could set yourself up. You know, like, this picture's 20 years old. That's still me.
It's still me.
That's still me. I got some of that.
That sounds like experience.
It was. But then there was something about your voice when we talked on the phone. There was something about your post. And I just said, let's talk to her. And when you sent me the picture, you were absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you so much.
And you still are.
Thank you.
Very recent picture of you. And I was just very happy that you didn't look like I feared you would look.
Well, let's talk about how you went from being a psychiatrist to being a publisher. How'd that come about?
Well, when I worked in psychiatry, I actually did very well. I was a medical correspondent for the NBC affiliate in Phoenix. We had an audience of 3 million people plus. I also worked at several radio stations as a medical correspondent. And I found myself talking about the same sorts of things over and over. And I had an interest in alternative medicine, alternative health, herbs, meditation, that sort of thing. And I didn't really have any of those products to give people that I'd created. Of course, I could refer them to other people, but who wants to refer them to other people when I'm the one speaking? So that doesn't help me in it. So we talked and we created meditation products that sold over the counter, slowly at first, but after a while they sold pretty well. And we decided that we would retire you from your corporate career. And we then retired you from that. And a couple years later, we retired me from that. And we moved to sunny downtown Summerfield, North Carolina, population 10,850. There's a story there too.
There is.
But this is where we live. And in the process of moving, we discovered that we had a deep desire to educate people about spirituality, to talk to people about taking care of themselves internally, body, mind, and spirit. And it fit right into both of our lifestyles, both of our philosophies. With my psychiatry background, it was just a very smooth transition. We started selling the CDs, but we quickly branched out into doing seminars. And we've done seminars all over the US. We've done them in Canada. We've done them in Europe. We've done them in the Caribbean. We haven't broken into Asia yet, but maybe one day we'll be able to go to China and actually do a seminar.
Well, we do travel to the Asian continent quite a bit.
Our favorite city in the world is Bangkok, believe it or not.
Bangkok, Thailand.
Bangkok, Thailand. Great food, great people, great temples. It's just it's our go-to place.
Well, let's tell the people about what we're going to talk about today. We have two great topics we want to talk about.
Do we have a topic? Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do. We're going to talk about Tiger Woods today.
Well, there's a story there. Tiger Woods is probably one of the greatest golfers of the last, I would say, one of the greatest golfers of his generation. He has won a whole lot of championships. The PGA Tour loves this guy. And, you know, I didn't watch golf before Tiger Woods. I mean, you would hear the guy, and now Mr. Woods is going to the hole and he's going to be putting. And, you know, you can only listen to that for so long before you want to turn the TV and watch football or baseball or something. It would just make you go to sleep. But when Tiger Woods was playing, it was a whole different thing. It's like, Tiger's 4 strokes ahead of everybody, 10 strokes ahead, 15 strokes ahead of everybody. He's got this red thing on and he's out there having a good time. It made it tolerable and even entertaining. And then he ran into a little trouble.
Just a little trouble.
A little trouble.
Well, let's just say he got caught in a little trouble.
With his pants down.
Literally.
More than occasionally.
More than occasionally. And they kept coming out of the woodwork.
But he had pretty women. He has good taste in women.
Well, that's debatable, but they all kind of look the same.
His wife was pretty.
Well, she was. She was. So it makes you wonder why he needed to go and test those waters outside.
She had that whole Norwegian, Finland, Netherlands thing going. She was a beautiful girl.
She was.
Still is.
She still is.
Still is.
She still is. But let's talk about how we're going to help Tiger Woods get his mojo back.
Well, let's talk about a mojo, what a mojo is for a second.
Okay.
Most people, when they think of a mojo, they think of, what was that movie? The one with the guy with Dr. Evil. Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers lost his mojo.
Ah.
And when he lost his mojo, he was no longer a super agent. He was just a regular guy. Couldn't fight crime. Couldn't drive around and be super sexy, baby, the way he was. But when he got his mojo back, he could do all sorts of things. It's like Samson losing his hair.
That's right.
Samson lost his strength in the Bible when he lost his hair. So your mojo is the source of your power. So we got to look at what was the source of Tiger's power.
Well, from the surface, if you just look at it, it seemed to be when he was with the women. Being with multiple women brought him his power.
Well, Tiger was he went to Stanford University and Western High School. So he was extraordinarily well educated. He won a number of amateur championships when he was a young kid. And he won the Masters when he was 21 years old. So he was extraordinarily talented, even at the point of being a young kid. And he was on, I think, Johnny Carson when he was a little boy putting.
About 2 years old.
As a little boy. So we're talking about somebody who was a prodigy in golf. He had natural talent. So what you're saying is Tiger Woods' talent, his natural talent, came from womanizing. Well, you don't get to womanize when you're 2. Do you?
No, not usually.
Gives a whole new spin on the Barbie doll.
It certainly would be. So you have to look at where did his power come from initially, and then what drove his power as he became the best golfer in the world at a point.
Yeah, he has won more money more quickly than just about anybody in memory, and he's still chasing the greats. He ostensibly will catch them at some point, and he will at some point establish himself as the absolute greatest and highest winning, most winning golfer of majors in history. But right now, this past year, he didn't do so well.
Interesting, when I was researching Tiger, he had actually gone back to number one in 2013.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I didn't know
I
that.
go, he went back to number one in
Did not
2013.
know that, Kathy.
Well, this is the things you learn when you research. And of course, he had a really bad 2014 season, and this season's pretty bad too. But he's had like major surgeries on his back, on his knees, and he just doesn't seem like the same golfer that he was before the infidelity incident. So you have to wonder, where is his mojo tied to now? And probably what we're referring to is his Kundalini energy. Where is he to tap the Kundalini energy? Where is he going to use it so that he can use it toward golf and being the great golfer that he was? Now, he's going to be 40 years old at the end of the year. That's right.
December 30th.
And so, no, he's not the exact same golfer he was when he was in his 20s. The body changes. You have to adjust your stroke and every other thing as your body starts to age. But he still has it in him to be a great athlete.
Well, when he was young, he was extraordinarily talented, much more so than anybody had ever seen in decades. And so you made an interesting point. Kundalini energy is the energy, it's a Sanskrit word that means basic primordial life force. And he had more of it than most people in his generation.
Mm-hmm.
He could hit golf balls in such a way that he could hit 800 or 900 a day and then go play a full course 3 or 4 days and win at a very young age. I mean, if anybody's ever played golf, when you hit 8 or 900 golf balls, that's a lot of hitting.
That is.
So he had something in him, some sort of power, some sort of force that propelled him to the top of his game. And then something happened. He stopped winning. In the last year or so, Tiger hasn't really been, at the top of the major boards the way that he had been. He hasn't had any major victories on tour, unfortunately, in the way that he has. Let's look at this. I'm on my iPad here. Let me just go to his major victories board.
Well, while you're doing that, I found out that Tiger has actually, in fact, just a few weeks ago, he was in Greensboro at the Wyndham Championship, and he was leading going into Sunday, but he ended up and finished tied for 10th in that particular championship. And so what happened in Greensboro is that record sales was going because Tiger Woods was coming for the first time to Greensboro to play in the Wyndham Championship. He had never played that before. And golf needs Tiger Woods to actually come back because they had sold more tickets so people could see him play. People like watching Tiger Woods play. But what they don't like and what is hard for them to watch is that he's not playing up to the expectations of not only Tiger, but of what we've become to expect of such a champion. We hate to see it when they slide as they age, professional athletes, those ones like Michael Jordan and the top people of their sport. We hate to see when their age and their skills kind of decline a little bit. We're not used to seeing them play without that extra championship energy that they bring to the games that they play. And so Tiger, although he's, as far as he's concerned, he felt that he played okay in 2015 because he was coming off of surgery. But I think he's missing a big point and the reason why he can't get his mojo back. And I think it has to do with his Kundalini energy and his getting back to his magic, tapping into the temporal energy that's out there that most athletes, especially top athletes, tap into so that they can do the things that nobody else can do.
He won the WGC Bridgestone International in 2013. He won the WGC Cadillac Championship in 2013. And before that, it had been several years since he won anything. He had a 3-shot lead in the Bridgestone International that he won that. But his last win in a major tournament was at the U.S. Open in 2008, and he had a playoff. He had a three-stroke lead over Rocco Mediate. It's not a golf show, folks, but today we're talking about Tiger Woods, probably the greatest golfer and probably the greatest African-American golfer ever to live. So we're looking at somebody who has been a hero. He has been a huge figure in the lives of many young kids. I mean, he made me want to look at golf again. He made me actually want to go out and take golf lessons. He has been a role model. He's been a big figure that a lot of us looked at. And then he started doing some crazy things. Actually, probably got caught at some crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger got caught with women of the night that he paid for. And he used a lot of them. And as he used them, it did cost him his marriage. It cost him a lot of his endorsements. It cost him a lot of the things that that propelled him to the top of his game. And so when you look at some possible remedies for this problem, this is a man that lived on very high levels of energy and life force and primordial life force that we call Kundalini. So one of the first things we want to look at is, how do you get that back? How do you get his energy back? Well, Tiger decided that he was going to stop doing what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Got a girlfriend, divorced his wife.
Mm-hmm.
She divorced him. And he started living a much more quiet, sedate life. One of the things I like about him is he has a beautiful meditation room in his home in Florida. Wish we had a meditation room there. It's 1,000 square feet, so that's a big room anywhere. But we got to look at what's going to get his mojo back. And we had this conversation a few weeks ago before we even started the show. We were driving, I think, to get something to eat, and it came up. And we started talking about what's going to get Tiger back in his game.
Well, he has to first, I think, tap within, because he's lost contact with that power source that gave him all the abilities that he has. I believe if he starts to meditate again and find a way to project his Kundalini back and kind of focus it back into his game, he would be able to get a little bit of his mojo back.
Well, I'm just going to say it. We're going to break in 3 minutes, so I can say it and get away with it, and I can just sneak right out the door. But I have an idea about what would get Tiger his energy back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it and be done with it.
Okay, go ahead and say it.
I'm a psychiatrist. I was trained as a Freudian analyst, so you know where I'm going.
I know exactly where you're going.
I know you do. I think, I hate to even say it on national radio, but I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be done.
Okay.
I think Tiger's energy, his Kundalini force, has dwindled because he has changed the way he plays the game. He has changed what charged him, what gave him the power. If you look at a lot of great athletes, I'm just give you a little background on my whole take on this. If you look at Tiger and you look at a lot of great men, I used to work with Mike Tyson, and I used to work with a number of professional athletes. And it's important to know that when these guys are in their element, one of the things they feed on is sexual energy. They will, there's a rumor, and I've heard this from some other boxers, that when Ali was boxing, he used to have women brought into the camp. We know from in the NBA, there are women all over the world waiting at their rooms, waiting sometimes in bed, waiting in the lobby in the hotel on the NBA players. We know the same thing happens with baseball. We know the same thing happens in every major sport. We know that in ancient times, women used to follow armies. And after a battle, a lot of times there was a big party.
Mm-hmm.
And so that the energy of sex is crucial in many things that we see in military. Even in the U.S. military in World War II, women were purchased for U.S. soldiers. And the word hooker actually comes from women that were purchased for U.S. soldiers during the Civil War. And there was a general, I believe his name was General Hooker, who was part of that. So the energy of sex has played a prime role in not only human civilization, but in sports and in the military. So I think Tiger needs to put that energy back into his life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if he puts some of those women on the payroll, if he's going to be playing in Oakland, if he's going to be playing at Pinehurst, call up a few girls in Pinehurst and say, hey, I'm playing a game or playing around in Pinehurst. I need you to come down. I need you to be at this hotel. And after the first round, we need to have lunch or dinner. And, you get a.
Well, it looks like we need to go on break.
Yeah, it looks like a good time.
This is a good time to break. So we'll break and we'll be right back with you.
We found the problem with your car. Turns out the carburetor differential modulator is out.
What?
And while we were digging around in there, this thing fell off.
Stop. There's no automotive repair nightmares at Diego Martinez's 5-Star Automotive in San Bernardino. 5-Star Automotive, where you'll get a great experience and home of the $15.99 oil change. That's right, just $15.99. They specialize in transmissions, brake repair, AC, and many other repairs, all with a lifetime warranty on parts and labor. Diego knows when your auto needs 5-star attention, it's never convenient. He offers a 12-month interest-free auto repair loan on major auto repairs with no money down. He'll even throw in free towing and a 10% discount for his neighbors in the 909 who work for the city and county of San Bernardino. Call 909-387-0770. That's 387-0770. Your neighbors at 909 West 2nd Street in San Bernardino. Do you like cars, racing, adventure and speed, motorsports of any kind? If it has speed, high performance, or burns octane, there's a brand new show for you. Do you have 1030 weight in your blood, or are you running on 104 performance octane? Then gear up for a brand new show on KCAA called Gotcha Racing. Tune in Saturdays at 4 p.m. with host Joe Britt for news, interviews, and all kinds of stuff you can use about racing and the automotive world. Whether it's learning how to put spark plugs in or spark up your supercharger, Joe's got the answer for you.
Ready, buddy? Ready. All right, Dan. Get it out.
Gotcha Racing. Find out how Joe built the Stallion GT1 exotic sports car, or hear the area's best experts on automotive questions. It's Gotcha Racing, right here, where we put you in the driver's seat and it doesn't stop till you cross the finish line. Saturdays at 4 p.m. right here on KCAA. It's Gotcha Racing.
Well, see you later. Come on, guys. Let's go.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
And now
we are back, and I'm curious to hear the ending of your suggestion.
I think that Tiger should have certain women on the payroll. And those women will be women that will give him massages, that will help keep his Kundalini energy up at a certain level so that he can get his mojo back. I think his mojo is tied to a certain amount of physical activity that he probably isn't getting in a monogamous relationship. And when he was out there, he played better.
He did play better.
And I think that in our country, we have sort of a puritanical view of that sort of energy. I mean, any great athlete, a lot of great athletes, this is what they do. This is just part of the game. This is part of their energy, and everybody knows that. When you cut it off, when you cut off the source of their energy, they don't play as well.
So what is a girlfriend of Tiger Woods supposed to do?
There's the problem.
There's the problem.
There's the rub. That is definitely something a wife would ask.
A wife, a girlfriend, someone special. Probably won't like him going around with a lot of women on his payroll going from city to city. But it is something that is an option for him. It would definitely help get his mojo back, so to speak, because I think he got a lot of his energy from his sexual energy, and professional men who are at the top of their game, they usually need a lot of sex in order for them to be able to produce like they can on the court or on the golf course. And for Tiger, that would be an option. There's other options as well. We actually make a product called the Chakra Cleansing and Empowerment that could help cleanse his chakras. And his lower chakra is probably clogged because he's not using the Kundalini energy in the right way. And that would be something that he could use to help him open up that channel. But once that channel is open, then he has to direct that energy somewhere. So I know the ladies aren't going to like hearing this, but the option that you brought up is a potentially good option for him.
I am very curious as to what our listeners think about this discussion. So let's open up the phone lines. If you want to give us a call, 832-999-1050. And let's hear what some of our listeners think. And if you have any different ideas about how to help this man, because what we're discussing is how to help a person improve their performance once their performance drops off lower than what they're used to having. We're talking about how to get your energy or your magic back in your life. One thing we kind of jokingly talked about was having him have more sex, but it's important to recognize that physical contact with others is important in keeping your energy high and keeping it clear. Also, we talked about a product that we have, chakra cleansing and empowerment. The chakras are energy wheels that spin in the body, and they control the energy that we have. As we get older, as the chakra spin tends to get less. The energy in the body and in the chakras goes down. And once you reach a certain age, you recognize that your energy just begins to drop. Well, if your energy drops below a certain level and you're a professional athlete that's getting paid millions of dollars just to show up, you begin to lose your lifestyle. And so even if you aren't a professional golfer, if you have energy in your life that you need to maintain, there are several things that you can do to maintain that energy. And that's really what we're talking about, how to maintain energy, how to get your magic back. The Chakra Cleansing and Empowerment is a product that we have on our website, www.tybro.com. Look under Cleansings and Empowerments and you will find it, www.tybro.com. You can click on our picture on this radio station. It'll take you right to the site. But in this cleansing and empowerment, it helps bring energy back into your life without any harmful drugs, without you taking anything internally. It does it with the energy of sound. The energy of sound is a very powerful tool in helping a person restore confidence in life, restore well-being, restore a certain sense of energy and health that you can't get sometimes with drugs or even herbs. And so when I was working in psychiatry, I found that a lot of the meditations I've referred people to, a lot of things we had them use, sound was one of the most important and one of the most thoroughly effective tools that a person could have. But I really want to see what other people think about what we're saying at 832-999-1050. If you want to give us a call and join the discussion, we'd be glad to have you.
And if we don't get any calls in the next couple of minutes, then we're going to go to our next topic because we have another great topic we want to talk about today. And
you just want to bash the pastors out there. So do I, for that matter.
Yeah, we will be talking about the Ashley Madison incident, and I think that's good for discussion. Being a preacher's daughter, I think I have a fairly good understanding of what that's like to be the family of the pastor.
Well, let's just tell people what happened with that, because it's along the same line of talking about what happened with Tiger. So let's just discuss that.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you're not familiar with Ashley Madison, it is a website that's dedicated to married people looking for extramarital affairs. And a couple of weeks ago, they had hackers go in and actually leak the information of the subscribers. And people found out that there was over 400 clergymen and pastors who actually were on there as subscribers. To give you an idea, the website has probably close to 23 million subscribers, and they've been around since 2001. And they're having people join at about 11,000 members every single day.
I did not know it was that big.
It's that big.
It's huge.
Now, what's interesting and funny to me is that after the incident happened, the week of August 23rd, over 87,000 women signed up.
Wait a minute.
After it was leaked and everyone's name was out there for the public to see, 87,000 women signed up. And within that week, with messages going back and forth between the men and the women, over 2.8 million messages were sent that week as well. Now, that's according to their own website. And that's just fascinating to me because if you go on there, then it's very easy for people to find out who you are. And usually, if you're married, you're trying to make it extramarital and you want people to find out what you're doing, especially your spouse. And 87,000 people go that same week and sign up. And these were women. These were women.
Women were thinking. This was after the thing leaked.
After it leaked.
87,000 women.
87,000.
Huh. Knowing that they were on a site with married men.
Yes.
Mostly.
Mostly.
And they were looking for married men.
Mm-hmm.
After it had been hacked, they decided they wanted to join.
They wanted to join.
Huh. I did not know that.
I didn't either. The things you learn.
2.8 million messages, which means that they were very active.
They were very active.
Very active. Which means that never.
Well, it means there's a lot of lonely people out there.
You used the word lonely. I would use another word.
Well,
it wouldn't be lonely.
No.
Huh. But anyway, that is incredible.
It is. Now, what I didn't know is that the men actually paid to talk to the women on that website.
The women don't have to pay.
The women don't have to pay.
With the divorce rate being a little over 50%, which means that most of these women were looking to have affairs with married men for free online, even knowing the risk of being caught by hackers and being exposed. They did it anyway. You bad girls, all of you need to line up and tell me why you did this.
So
every one of you bad girls, bad girls. And bad boys too. Bad boys.
Sounds like you're getting ready to pull out a paddle.
No.
Okay.
Not a paddle. Not a paddle.
Well, let's talk about the clergy, the 400 pastors that were actually, at least these are the ones that they know of. It could have been more. What does that say to
400 pastors?
400.
400, not 50, not 100, 400 pastors. That's a lot of clergy.
That is a lot of clergy.
It's a lot of clergy.
That's a lot of churches.
So wait a minute. You go online, you're a pastor. Amen. Amen. You go online, you're a pastor. You don't hide your identity. You let people know you're a pastor. I guess that could be a turnoff for some women. It's like a daddy thing.
Well, there is something to that.
You let people know you're a pastor. You don't hide your identity. And you sign up to Ashley Madison. You're a married man and you're a pastor. And you sign up letting people know that you're a pastor, knowing that at some point you might get outed, but you do it anyway. Amen. So at the end of the day, you get caught. And then you got to go in front of your church. And I saw a lot of articles online about what do you do if your pastor is outed on Ashley Madison?
What do you do if your pastor is on the list? What do you do?
Yeah.
That's your pastor.
First, he's got to deal with his wife.
That should be
I
interesting.
would hate to be in that room when a pastor comes home and says, sweetheart, dear,
Lord.
I have transgressed against our marital situation to the extent that I have been entertained and partaken in Ashley Madison. No, it's not a Bible verse. It is a site that I got caught on. I was weak. I can't tell you why I did it, but I was weak. And in that moment of weakness, I transgressed 56 times. After I transgressed, I need your forgiveness.
With all kidding aside,
This conversation happened somewhere.
They had to go in front of their church.
First, he had to go home, though.
Yeah, he did.
He had to go home.
Well, he would be lucky if he got to the church.
Yeah, because there's some things that could have happened at home.
Yeah, you don't want to go home.
He would not fare well going home admitting that he was on Ashley Madison, having been outed or having had 56 different conversations. Like, are you that unhappy, dear pastor? Are you that unhappy? It's not a question of unhappiness. It's a question of variety, of spice, a question of having more than one piece of chicken now and then. I like chicken.
It's supposed to be discreet, because
Yeah.
there's many
Chicken
pastors
is discreet.
that have that right there in the church.
Truly. I have been in church on many occasions, sat up close to the front, and you just look at the ladies sitting up front sometimes. I'm not naming any particular church. I have been to many churches all over the country, but you look up front and sometimes you need to go to the bathroom and you walk past that front row and you look over and it's an interesting row. You know what I'm talking about. You know I'm not making this up.
You're not.
I couldn't make this up.
You can't.
Right.
You can't.
So you look at that row and you realize that these ladies didn't come here to read scripture.
No, they didn't.
Didn't I see you in Bobby's last night? No, it wasn't me. No, Lord. No, some of these ladies are here and some of the men too, because it can go both ways.
Now, this had a huge effect on those churches.
Yeah.
And the people in the church. How are they supposed to deal with their pastor being on a website that's made specifically for extramarital affairs? And that pastor has been the one that's been counseling them on their behavior and in their relationships.
I have nothing but the greatest respect for the clergy. I know the clergy are human. They are men. They are women. They do hard work. I have worked professionally and personally with a number of different clergy all over the country. So, and all kidding aside, I recognize that this is a difficult time for hundreds and hundreds of clergy out there. But y'all got caught.
They did.
They got caught. So you got to deal with this. You got to come home and you got to talk with somebody about this in a real way. Our phone line is 832-999-1050 for anyone that wants to join in with our discussion. 832-999-1050. And in our discussion, we're talking about two very important topics. One is, how do you get the magic back? And some people will say, let's have an affair. That's one way I get my magic back. I go out, I meet somebody new. That somebody new stimulates me. And sometimes that person going out looking for that new magic is a clergyman, is somebody, a policeman, a senator, a teacher, somebody who's an authority figure, a doctor, a lawyer. These things happen. But we want to talk about, why does this sort of thing happen? And if it's clergy in particular, how do you counsel that person? How does a church look at that person, listen to a sermon and say, this is my pastor, but my pastor has done something that maybe I haven't done. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But now I got to look at this, listen to my pastor, and deal with this.
Mm-hmm. That is not an easy thing to deal with, especially if you're the wife of the pastor and if you're a member of the church. Because when people go to church and they're really fundamentalists, that's their foundation. And when the leader of that foundation has done something like this, that's a sin, then how are they supposed to move forward? Do they just go to another church, or is their foundation shaken? Or is it something that says that everybody, even our pastor, is going to have extramarital affairs? Is there no one who's going to be honest and true to their mate? Is that just something that's impossible to wish and want for?
Well, should we hold our pastors and professional people to a higher standard than we would a normal person, just who is in, a profession or not in a profession? Should we hold them to a higher standard? Is it unrealistic to hold them to a higher standard in that way?
Well, we'll talk about that right after this break.
It's getting hot here at Freeway Auto Center. Coming up Saturday, September 12th, Freeway Auto Center presents their car meet and sales event. They're bringing you trophies, raffles, vendors, music, and much more just when you thought there was nothing to do on a Saturday in September. Freeway Auto Center brings you a day you won't forget. All brought to you by Low and Fitted. Not to mention the all-day promo and video recording. Find out how much fun you can have buying a car. Remember, it all comes together at Freeway Auto Center from 1 to 10 p.m. Saturday, September the 12th. Did I tell you where it all happens?
No.
It's going to be at 333 South Waterman. That's just north of the 10 freeway. The Freeway Auto Center Car Meet and Sales Event, hosted by Low and Fitted, September 12th. It's getting hot at Freeway Auto Center. You've never had such a good time buying a car.
Is your radio station dull and boring like most corporate-owned stations on the dial? Then it's time to tune to KCAA 1050 AM. It will blow your mind and maybe expand it too. KCAA is your independently owned go-to station in the Inland Empire. It's a veritable cornucopia of crazy, an assemblage of awesome and cool, and it's a little weird too. KCAA pumps out more local and national radio each week than most major networks while offering CNBC business news headlines during the week and NBC sports news on weekends. KCAA is unique, interesting, quirky, and sometimes outlandishly crazy, which adds up to a high volume of awesome. And for you audiophiles, KCAA delivers FM sound quality to our transmitter, which is why KCAA is the best sounding AM station on the dial. So make your day with KCAA and find us online at kcaaradio.com. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. For more local radio every day, tune into KCAA Loma Linda.
And now it's time for more Mitch and Kathy on the Mitch and Kathy Show, right here on KCAA 1050 AM. Now, here's Mitch and Kathy.
We are back, and we just realized we've given out the wrong number for a call-in. The actual number is 888-909-1050. That's 888-909-1050. Please call us and get in on the conversation. We're back talking about the 400 pastors.
I still can't believe we were giving out the wrong phone number. The phone number we were giving out was to call in to listen. And the number to call in to talk is totally different. 888-909-1050. 888-909-1050. We won't do that next time, though.
Well, it's our first show.
It's our first show. Very first show. So we get to do stuff like that on our very first show. So if you want to join us, if you're part of our Tybro family, we'd love to hear from you. 888-909-1050. So what is a congregation going to say to a pastor? Because I know we have pastors in our family, certain pastors who shall not be named. And I know you are not on that list, certain pastors who shall not be named. So what would you like people in your congregation to say to you at 888-909-1050 if you were caught
we'll
in that
take the call.
situation? We will take the call, probably from one of our pastors in our family. Hello, thank you for calling Mitch and Kathy. You're live on the line with Mitch. What is up? What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, this is Patrick Jones. I'm calling from Toronto, Ontario.
We can barely hear you.
Barely hear you.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Much
better. Thank you.
Okay, so this is Patrick Jones. I'm calling from Ontario, Toronto, Ontario.
Toronto, Ontario, a beautiful city. Thank you for calling. What is on your mind, Patrick or Reverend?
Well, I just wanted to, I agreed with what you were speaking about Tiger Woods, and I just wanted to make reference to a movie that I saw a while back with Austin Powers, and it was about, they were looking at ways that they could defeat him, and one of the ways that they tried was to get his mojo, and they actually did succeed. And,
yes, they did. Yes,
dropping his energy and everything by taking his mojo. So I look at movies as not so fictional. I look at them as they're taking reference from real life. So that just reminded me when you were speaking of Tiger Woods. It reminded me of that movie.
I think movies can be great teaching tools. Yes, they are the great fictional stories and entertainment of our time, but often movies have a teaching element that is not lost on me, and I think not lost on a lot of people. It's important to see that about movies, and I think it's very wise that you saw that movies can teach us things about life that we might not learn without being entertained in that way. That I remember that movie Austin Powers where we had lost his mojo, and I think that it's important that if a man or a woman wants to keep their energy going, they have to look at all the options that are available out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that was my only point. Actually, I don't know if you heard me. I'm Noni's husband.
Oh,
okay.
Hi.
Hi.
For us.
I think she wants to say something to you guys.
No, I don't. I just
Come
want to say I
on,
love
Noni,
you
you're on the
guys.
air
Love your
now.
show. That's it. I love you guys, and I love your show. You're doing an awesome job.
Hey, it's our first show, but we have actually been on the air before, so we're old hats at this. Thank you.
Thank you, Noni.
How is everybody there?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you.
It's interesting that that he mentioned movies, because movies have a way of saying things that most people are afraid to say. We have another caller. We're going to go ahead and take the caller. Go right ahead. You're on the air with Mitch and Kathy.
Would that be me?
Hello.
Yes, hello. Would that be me?
Yes, that would be you.
Oh, blessed master.
Hello, how are
Sorry.
you? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Blessed Lusaria. How y'all both doing? This is Thomas Shalar.
Thomas Shalar. How are you, Thomas Shalar?
I'm doing great. How about you, Master?
Very good, very good. How's the weather in Phoenix these days?
The weather is cooling down in Phoenix. Instead of 114,
Now it's only 110 in the shade.
took off the middle one and exchanged it for a 0. So,
So what is your take on what we're talking about with the Pastors or with Tiger? I'm just curious about your opinion.
On the Tiger Woods issue or the issue you were talking about?
Whichever you want to talk
recently?
about.
The Tiger ones, and by the way, I have a little partner in crime over here. This is Faye Long.
Oh, she's in
Hi,
Phoenix
mother.
with you.
Hi, father. Master. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Go ahead.
So you're out there visiting, huh?
I'm doing great. I'm enjoying the show. I am on pins and needles sitting on the edge of my seat.
So I'm just curious what you think about what we had to say about Tiger and or the Pastors. I'm just curious at either one of you, whichever one of you want to speak.
The Tiger Woods thing was very interesting because when you said, the fact that, all the athletes having other partners to get involved to keep the Kundalini, it just clicked all the dots as far as why that was even needed. And I was always against, like, no, you don't have to do that. Why you got to cheat? But it all made sense now as far as why that was. And I was actually very interested in trying to harness this energy just on a one-on-one with your significant other basis, since it seems to be so important. So I think sexual energy is definitely something to be researched. I think any couple out there who wants to be just not as successful but have as much energy as, say, the Tiger Woods or the Michael Jordan should investigate in that.
I think it's important to understand that we don't need to reinvent the wheel with this, that a lot of our sexual ideas and the way that we look at sexuality is really based on religion. And if you're an athlete, and you can give us a call at 888-909-1050. That's 888-909-1050. If you're an athlete, you know what we're talking about. My wife used to be pretty much a professional athlete. I stopped playing baseball in Little League, so that's as far as I went. But the concept of sexual energy, Kundalini energy, and high athletic performance has vexed athletes, has vexed soldiers, has vexed professionals for centuries, and actually decades. A lot of people have been brought down in our society because of this whole question of, is sexuality something that's permissible outside of a monogamous relationship? Where if you're an athlete and you're performing at a certain level, you know that your sexual energy is different. You know that the energy doesn't just run with one person. And when you're on the road and you're doing your thing, you know what you're doing. And you know that at some point you're hiding it. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're an addict. It doesn't mean necessarily that you don't love your spouse or your mate, but it also means that there's a part of you that isn't necessarily like the normal person. That part of you isn't necessarily like everybody else, and you got to deal with it. And it's something that if you don't feed it, you know that you don't perform at the same level. So I think this discussion that we're having is an important discussion to have about this whole concept of sexuality and athletic performance.
And also infidelity.
Yep.
And infidelity.
Very important.
You just can't
Very
kill
important.
everybody that does that.
So
Some
that brings
folks
up
gotta
this
look at it
question:
honestly.
Is
Well, there's
being
also
with other women the only
the
option?
aftermath of the infidelity that the person has to deal with. Tiger, in my opinion, was unable to deal with the aftermath of his cheating. And that led to his wife leaving him. And that led to the way that he's been playing. He kind of gave it up so that he can get moral in his mind. And that morality that he's been trying to harness is preventing him from getting his mojo back.
Now, mojo has nothing to do with these pastors. It has nothing to do with athletic performers. These guys, these people just got caught. And you could ostensibly say, well, you need a certain amount of juice or energy to get up in front of a pulpit and give a service. You could say that.
You could try to say
That'd
it.
be BS in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're at 888-909-1050. And Shaylar and Phelan, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you for
in.
calling in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll take the last caller.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Hi, you're on
Hello?
the air with Mitch and Kathy. How can we help you?
Give us
Are
your
you
name and
talking to
where
me?
you're calling from.
I'm calling from Charlotte.
Charlotte, no, I know who you are.
Oh, okay.
Pastor.
Yeah, you do know. I can answer your question. I can be your guinea pig.
Jump right in on the conversation, Pastor.
Okay. Well, I actually think there's a good conversation. There is a relationship between athletic performance and preaching or pastoring the church. And I think that both of those professions attract women. And so I think that both of them are generated by sexual energy. So I think you're dead on. I have seen where in situations where the more emotional a service becomes, the more sexual energy it produces. They actually go together.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me that the situation with pastors and the situation that you mentioned about with Ashley Madison website or whatever.
Well, you know, a lot of churches get destroyed by pastors having indiscretions with members of the laity, of members of the congregation. So what you're saying definitely does have credence. We just got the 30-second countdown, so we have to unfortunately cut you off, but we're going to be back on the air next week, and we're going to have a really fun topic. We may actually have to finish up with this one next week before we move to the next one. But our call-in number is 888-909-1050. And if you want to look us up, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we have a website, www.tybro.com. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we will be with you next week, same time, same.
Radio update starts now.
Taking